Kubernetes API. The Kubernetes API enables querying and managing cluster objects like pods, namespaces, config maps, and events. The API server, the control plane's core, exposes an HTTP API that facilitates communication between users, internal cluster components, and external systems. Accessing the API. Kubernetes provides multiple ways to interact with the API. Using kubectl command line interface. Kubectl is the primary tool for managing Kubernetes resources. Examples. List all pods in a namespace. Kubectl get pods in my namespace. Describe a specific pod. Kubectl describe pod my pod and my namespace. Apply a new deployment from a YAML file. Kubectl apply fdeployment.yaml. Delete a pod. Kubectl delete pod my pod and my namespace. Using kubedm, cluster management tool. kubedm is a tool for bootstrapping and managing Kubernetes clusters. Examples. Initialize a new Kubernetes cluster. kubedm init. Join a worker node to an existing cluster. kubedm join. Reset a cluster, remove all state. kubedm reset. Using the REST API, direct API calls. The Kubernetes API can be accessed directly using RESTful HTTP requests. Examples. List all pods using curl. Curl KH authorization bearer token pod URL API specification mechanisms. Discovery API lists all available Kubernetes APIs, including resource names and scopes, cluster-wide or namespaced, endpoint URLs, supported HTTP methods, verbs, group, version, and kind, alternative resource names for backward compatibility, metadata for efficient request routing and caching. Use case, kubectl fetches and caches this data for features like autocompletion. Open API document provides comprehensive Open API v2.0/v3.0 schemas for all Kubernetes API endpoints, including detailed schemas for resources and operations, request/response structures and data validation rules, extensibility components, for example CRDs. Use case, useful for API documentation, validation, and client library generation. Discovery API, aggregated versus unaggregated. Aggregated discovery, Kubernetes v1.30, stable consolidates all resource data into two endpoints, /API and /APIS, reducing API request overhead. Support structured responses via accept headers, application/JSON, v equals v2, g equals apidiscovery.k8s.io. Uses etag and protobuf encoding for efficient retrieval. Unaggregated discovery. Publishes API group versions separately. Root endpoints, /API and /APIS, list available API versions dynamically. Additional considerations. Custom APIs with CRDs, custom resource definitions, extend Kubernetes with custom API objects, authentication and authorization. Kubernetes API supports token-based, certificate-based, and external identity providers. RBAC, role-based access control, restricts API access based on roles and permissions. Admission controllers, validate and modify API requests before persistence. Webhooks, enable dynamic admission control and external event handling.